Hi everyone, I hope all of you are doing well. Sorry, I think there was some bit of a problem in the beginning because of which we were not able to go live. But I hope all of you are now able to see me and you're also able to hear me clearly. So let's get started, and today's session we are going to focus on personal interview, and this is a subject that is very close to my heart. I first of all really like taking interviews, and as a student also I really like preparing for the interviews. So it's something that I really look forward to. So I hope again all of you are able to hear me clearly. We had some issue in terms of getting the tech set up in the beginning, but I guess now it's fine. All right, so what we're going to focus on, right, is firstly any questions that you may have with respect to personal interviews. Feel free to ask me. I'll be very happy if I can answer these questions. And I also want you to have a look at the season that we have just released. We have started releasing rather the third season of the mock interview series that we have at IMS. So this is the third year wherein we are recording these videos. And every year it's absolute delight to first of all have IMS students as part of this whole thing. We invite them to the head office and do these video shoots. We are just about to wrap up this, but of course by the time it gets edited and reach to you, it will be a bit of a time. So two episodes are already available, so I hope people will start checking them out. But even if you watch videos from the past season 1 and season 2, you will derive a lot of benefit from that. So have a look at all of these videos. Okay, now let me take some questions to begin with. So there's a question from a student: why MBA? Most convincing answer for a fresher from BMS. Okay, so this is Manthan. So Manthan, see, if you're already done BMS, or if you're doing BMS at this point of time and you are planning to do MBA, right, it's a logical conclusion or continuation of what you are doing currently. So it's always easy to justify. In fact, for students who are coming from non-management or non-commerce disciplines, it is slightly more difficult to justify why they want to do an MBA. But for you, it will be much easier having got the initial knowledge in a particular domain. For example, you could be studying marketing and finance and HR and operations and so on. You now want to gain expertise, further expertise, deeper knowledge about these subjects, and that is why it's much easier for you to justify your MBA decision. And if you've done any internship, it will become much easier, because then you can talk about, okay, you studied the basics of say marketing, operations, etc. Then you did an internship where you were able to apply those, and now you want to take it to the next level, and that is why you want to do an MBA. I'm a beginner. Is 1 month enough for my interview prep? Yes, Aditya, 1 month is good enough time frame. I would say that, see, when you look at this 1 month preparation that you're doing for interviews, a lot of it is going to be self-reflection, right? So figuring out, okay, what you've done in the past, what you want to do in the future, what you're doing currently. So thinking about that, and then writing down answers to commonly asked interview questions, right? So why MBA, and things like what you have done in the past, your strengths, areas of improvements, etc. Then the second aspect of it is going to be knowing your surroundings, which is going to be reading. So make sure that you read a lot on a daily basis. If you read the newspaper, any one newspaper also, that is going to be more than sufficient. So to anybody who is watching this, I would just suggest that as part of your interview preparation, don't just focus on the interview questions which are related to you, but also the current affairs part of it, the general awareness part of it. So make sure that you read one newspaper on a daily basis. Okay. All right. Hitesh just purchased classes for 26. Okay, so if you're talking about the GDPI program, then of course welcome. And if you're looking at CAT 26, of course this session is not for you. This is for students who have taken CAT 25 and are now going to enter their interview season. Why MBA now for a fresher from BMS? So see, when you look at the MBA in India, right, firstly there's no minimum requirement of work experience. Now what you can do is, if you have done any internship, then you can always talk about that bit, that okay, I've done an internship, so I have a little bit of a corporate experience and I want to start my MBA as soon as possible, so that I'm able to, when you look at the post MBA life, right, the post MBA career, you will be able to start it earlier. So it's not necessary that you need to have work experience, but if you have an internship, then of course, if you plug that in your answer, it will become slightly easier to convince. If you don't have any internships, then of course, you will have to convince them as to why you want to do it at this point of time. So why don't you want to, let's say, have any sort of work experience? Now, if you're somebody who has already graduated and you have a break, then again that is something that you may have to justify. For those of you who are in the final year, not so much, because then there is no gap on your profile. Interview tips for IMC. So for any of the IMs, the more or less the tips remain the same, right? So it's not going to change basis which IM you are applying to or going to participate for the final process. You have to, of course, go through the interview transcripts, and that is something that you have on My IMS. So those of you who are IMS students, when you log into My IMS under the GDPI program, right, you have past interview transcripts as well. Please start going through them. That's the best place wherein you can have more questions. You will know what sort of questions have been asked for a particular specialization, for a particular student with a particular background, and that will help you to prepare more. So if you're, let's say, an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and you see, okay, in IMC interview in the past, these kind of questions have been asked, then you can prepare similar questions. Now, generally, it's always better, especially for IMs, I would say ABC, that you prepare a lot of technical stuff as well, especially mathematics. So make sure that you do that preparation well. Apart from that, your core syllabus, right? So whether you did mechanical or civil or electrical or any other, maybe you're a CA or whatever, the things that you studied. So make sure that you revise those fundamental concepts as well. Okay. I'm expecting 3 calls. क्या possible है उन सबको convert करना? Yeah, I mean, why not? So technically you can convert anything and everything that you get, right? But ultimately it will depend on how you perform in the interview. So right now it is about, I mean, you must be thinking that, okay, I'll be able to convert everything, but ultimately it will depend on your final performance, right? So it's right now you just prepare. You don't worry about whether I'll be able to convert or not. Unnecessary thinking is not what you should be doing. IIM Kashipur and Sambalpur have deferred policy for medical emergency or work ex. I don't think they have, but you can always make a request. But as far as I know, they don't have a deferred policy. What to carry to the interview venue? Okay, Sneha, that's a good question. So on the day of the interview, firstly, every IIM, when they call you, or any of the B schools when they call you for the interview, they will specify what all documents you need to carry. So just follow that bit. Otherwise also, of course, it's a good policy to ensure that you have a copy of the application form that you submitted, your scorecards. Of course, they don't ask for the scorecards, but it's good to have. In addition to that, you should always carry an updated resume. Again, a lot of places, they don't ask for it. Some places they will ask for it specifically, but in any case, good to carry one or two copies of the latest resume that you have. And in addition to that, a folder containing your certificates is very important, because the document verification also is done. So ensure that you carry all of those things, but they will mention it. So don't worry, it's not going to be like they will just leave you just like that and say, okay, fine, you just show up. They will specify what all documents they're looking for. So you just need to carry those things. How is SCM HRD for BA? It's a good B school. See, when you look at any B school, the question, the way it is framed, right, generally, how is XYZ? That's not a great question, to be honest, because firstly, I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about your aspirations. I don't know, for example, what CTC you're drawing at this point of time. So does it make sense for you to leave your job and join a particular B school? What you should do is, if you're not a working professional, right, let's say you're a student, then any B school, as long as it fits into your aspiration. For example, your aspiration could be, let's say, I want to get a job after 2 years, which is going to pay me, let's say, 12 LPA plus. Any B school that fits into this aspiration, you can apply to them. But let's say you're a working professional, you're already earning, let's say, 10 LPA. Then you will say, okay, fine, my aspiration is going to be any B school that offers more than 15 LPA or 16 LPA. Then that 12 LPA option will not be valuable to you, right? You ideally should not be taking that up. Or it could be like this, that, okay, you're doing something, you're getting money, but now you're not happy doing what you're doing. So you want to change your domain, and that is why you need to do an MBA. In that case, even that 12 option might make sense. So it's not like a black and white answer, right? Whether something is good or bad. Ultimately, it depends on you as an individual, whether it will make sense to you or not. So that is a call that you need to take. But you can take that call only after you have been given a convert by that institute. Till then, everything is just like, I mean, it's like sitting in a chair and then discussing, right, that which B school is good. But then that's not going to help a lot of people. Okay. Again, a comparison question. So somebody asked Wellinger versus KJ Somaya, right? This is from Aksh. See, again, right now it will not make a lot of sense to discuss that, because none of these places they have given you shortlist or a convert. Right now, if you're debating them, it's better that you apply to both of them and then see what happens, and then ultimately you can decide. So again, I'm not going to today answer questions on institute comparison because it's too early to talk about it. Okay. All right, let's move on to some of the other questions. So we'll focus more on interview prep. Let's keep the discussion around that. Okay, I scored a 213 in NMAT, NMIMS, WorkX requirements and other weightages are not seeming that will be easy to convert this year, being from family business. Please tell whether to go for its call or not. So see, now your 213 in NMAT is not going to matter a lot. You also know that it is just 10% weightage in the final selection. So because 60% is on the competency assessment and you always have a chance of doing well there, I think you should go. See, a lot of times we tend to make these short-term decision or short-term thinking that why should I take the effort, right? Why go? I mean, I have a low score, etc. But then you never know what is going to happen. So for all you know, you end up doing extremely well on the competency assessment, you do very, very well on the interview, and you get a convert. So I don't want to have that what if scenario. I don't want to have a regret at a later point of time. So I generally recommend students to just show up, go there and see what happens. The worst thing that can happen is that you get a reject. The best thing that happens is you get a convert. And that's the, I'm ready to take that risk, right? So I'm always willing to go there, show up and then see what happens. Okay, I would request students to not put the same question again and again, because then it just appears that there are too many questions. In fact, there are very few questions that we have. So I would suggest that you wait for some time. I hope I will be able to take all the queries that I get. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so this is from, yeah, so please don't spam. It becomes too painful to then just keep a track of questions. Is there anything specific to prepare for NMIMS AI interview? This is from Prachi. So for NMIMS AI interview, nothing specific, nothing different compared to what you do for your interview preparation. Okay, so see, with AI interview, the only thing is that whatever you upload, whatever document or data has been shared with the AI is going to more or less ask you questions from those areas. So make sure that whatever you write in your resume, right, whatever you have in the application, that is something that you know very, very well. So if you have written that, let's say that, okay, I have studied at XYZ college, then what you did in college, what sort of activities you did on campus, and the subjects that you had. So prepare well for all of that, and that you'll do anyway for a normal face-to-face interview. So nothing specific for the AI interview. It just that know that the way AI evaluates is that it looks for the keywords. So whatever competencies they are looking for, it will essentially look for whether those keywords are getting highlighted and you're describing your experiences properly or not, how is your communication, what choice of words you have, etc. So nothing different. Okay, so don't think that it is very, very different. And for IMS students, we also will have the AI mock interview. So it will soon be available to all of you. So you will be able to practice it once. Okay. IMS has competency test resources on IMS portal. Yes, we already released 3 mock tests. We are also evaluating whether we can add more. So more on that later. But then for now, we have 3 competency mock tests that we have released to all the students. What questions to expect as a final year BMS student? So as a final year BMS student or anybody, I mean, you may have completed BMS also. The questions are going to be related to the core curriculum that you studied. So let's say if you had a particular specialization finance, for example, then you can prepare for the main subjects that you had. Okay, so generally they ask questions from your most favorite subject and your least favorite subject. Strategically, a lot of people, what they do is they choose their second favorite subject as their least favorite subject because they don't want to be questioned on a true least favorite subject. So at least for a couple of subjects, the more important ones, you should prepare. And if you've done any courses, any additional courses or electives or certifications, etc., just prepare well for them. But academic questions can always come, and these are generally the fundamental questions. So if you, let's say, have done your BBA specializing in marketing, What you can do is you can think of say 25-30 questions that you can be asked and prepare for that. If you get anything out of it, outside of that, there isn't much, right? You just try and answer that particular question at that point of time. Okay, what subjects and in what depth should one prepare for interviews, commerce students and BMS degree as a fresher? Yeah, Utkarsh, as I said, so don't go to complete depth. I mean, there's no point of going back to your books, reading them all over again. That's not going to help anybody. But what you should do is, let's say I have, say, cost accounting, right? Now, what are, let's say, the 15-20 fundamental questions related to cost accounting that I can be asked? And then I will prepare for that. And same is true for others. So pick, let's say, when you look at your mark sheet, right, there are, let's say, 8 subjects on the final year mark sheet that you have. For every subject, prepare, let's say, 15 to 20 questions that you could be asked, and you can definitely use AI for this. Go to ChatGPT or any LLM, just say that, okay, this is my final year topic or subject. What are the 15-20 questions that I could be asked, right? And then you prepare for them. IMS में पढ़ना कहाँ से है for competency test or give mock सीधा? Yeah, you just take the mock. See, because the prep is not different compared to what you've already done for your NMAT. So the competency assessment test is very similar to what you have on the NMAT. It's just that it's a short duration test. The sections are slightly different, but then there are no question types that are very unique to the competency assessment test. So I'm pretty sure all of you will be able to handle it. If you want to prepare a little bit, of course, you can look at the ADMAT masterclasses in case you haven't done it already. So that would be a good resource to go through. Profile 987, percentile 88, EWS non-India male, any baby IIMs or IIT Roorkee. Okay, for now, don't think about your chances. And that's what I said sometime back as well, that it doesn't make sense to think of your chances of converting. What you should do is, of course, if you have some past year data, the way we have uploaded on the B school zone, you look at, say, Roorkee and see, okay, fine, I have percentile which is more than what the typical cutoffs are. It means that I have a chance at it. Let me just apply and see what happens. And you appear for the interviews, let the converts come, and then you decide whether I want to join a particular place or not. Right now, it's like too premature to talk about it. So a lot of students do this and then they regret it, that okay, they think that what's the point of applying, etc. But instead, if you apply right now, you will lose a little bit of money. See, let's say you submit the IIT Roorkee application, I think it's 1600 rupees, right? So the worst case that happens is you don't get a call. What is the loss? 1600 rupees. But what is the upside? That you get a shortlist. The best thing that can happen is you convert, and maybe let's say that is the best convert that you get. So you never know, and that is why it's better that you at least apply to a few more places. I'm not saying you apply to everything. I mean, that's stupidity, right? That's just wasting money unnecessarily. But you apply to a range of institutes. So let's say you're at a 92 percentile. Apply to institutes that have cutoffs between 90 to 95, so that you are creating some room for yourself. What colleges to apply at 82 percentile EWS? So most of that, a lot of past year data is available on the B school zone. I suggest that you have a look at that, and there you will be able to find a lot of options. IIMs are anyway, you have applied to them. And regarding IITs, of course, go through the EWS cutoffs, and that will give you the list of institutes that you can apply to. How can I get a review on my NMIMS SOP? So again, you can reach out to mentors for any review, SOP review that you may have, whether it is like a VAT review or an SOP review. Just get in touch with your mentors. For VAT practice, we have just launched the VAT lab. In fact, we launched it today, the AI VAT lab, which is essentially a place where you can practice writing the VAT and get feedback from AI. So please try it out. It is there in your My IMS. I scored a 213 in NMAT and I want to know what will be the best colleges with ROI. Is Soil University good? No WorkX. Okay, so see, Varun, the way you have to decide or look at this whole thing is look at the placement figure of Soil. Okay, then reach out to at least a few students who have graduated from Soil in the last couple of years. For example, last 2, 3, 5 years. Reach out to them on LinkedIn. And even if you don't reach out to them on LinkedIn, just look at the career progression that the students have had. Okay. Now, if you think that career progression makes sense and you want similar kind of opportunities, then you should apply to Soil. And that is why I say that no institute is good or bad. You have to figure out for you whether it will make sense or not. Okay, so whether you have an experience, you don't have it, that's not the main parameter here. The parameter here is that whether the opportunities that soil gets, are they the opportunities that you want for yourself? And when you look at the career progression, is it making sense to you or not? How is IIT Dhanbad for MBA? Again, decent place. So I don't have very bad opinion about any of the B schools unless they are doing things that are really stupid. See, all of these places, the advantage that they have is the branding, right? So whether you look at a second or a third generation IIM or an IIT, they have a brand. So that brand will help you survive. It will create opportunities for you. It will open doors for you. So right now you just need to prepare for interviews, and the more you focus on that, the better it is. So even if you end up, let's say, doing another 4 or 5 additional applications and you don't get anything in return, you're possibly losing out on about 7,500, 8,000 rupees, right? But then that's okay. In the short term, that's still fine. The long term, anyway, everybody will have a positive return on investment. So not a problem. But right now, focus on interview prep, okay, more than anything else. GDPI VAT process of XLRI, please look at my question. Okay, so see, GDPI VAT preparation, right, doesn't change too much from institute to institute. So when you prepare for, let's say, one IM process, you're almost prepared for the other IM process as well. The only changes that you do is, of course, going through the transcripts, because every institute has like a style of questioning, right, has some sort of inclination towards asking certain kind of questions. So what you should do is go through the transcript. So even on the in IMS you will find that. That's number one. The second is the institute research. So you have to do a lot of institute research, and when I say that, it's not about visiting the institute website and going through the placement report, but it is going to their LinkedIn account, it is going to their YouTube channel, it is watching some of the YouTube videos on their channel to see what is happening. So let's say, for example, you watch a video wherein, let's say, the director of XLRI is talking about something, and now that becomes a conversation point, that okay, why XLRI? So when I was considering different B schools, XLRI is definitely something that is one of the top B schools in the country. I've been following XYZ person on LinkedIn who is associated with XLRI, or some of my seniors are from XLRI, or I watched this video which was very inspirational and I got to know about teaching methodology at XLRI. So there are a lot of ways in which you can personalize why you want to apply to a certain B school. So think of that, right? The more personal it becomes, the reason behind doing an MBA, the easier it is to convince the panel. Is it advisable to use introvert ambivert in the weakness question if there's a story for an effort for improvement to back it up? Sure. So, but again, don't put an exact label to it, right? So introvert, the moment you say introvert, there's a label. So rather than, you can put it in slightly better terms rather than just calling yourself an introvert. But yeah, you can use that as an example. So a lot of people have it that you are shy, reserved, you're whatever, you don't like or you don't enjoy meeting a lot of people, etc. So maybe you're going through that phase at a point of time, and then over a period of time, once you got a lot of feedback, once you decided to reflect on it, and then you consciously decided that okay, these are the things that I would like to change about myself, and you acted on it. So that is the journey that you want to talk about, but need not put labels to it. Okay. How to prepare for situation based questions? By practicing more mock interviews. So the only way you will face a lot of situation questions, right, is when you appear for more and more mocks, because then you will know that okay, suddenly there is a random question that has come up. Now how do I handle that question? Maybe I've never predicted getting this question. Now how do I react to it? So and when you get something which is really random, it's always better to say, can I take a moment to gather my thoughts, right? A very simple thing to say. Allow yourself to get, let's say, 10-15 seconds, and then you can respond. It's not necessary that you answer a question just like that. I mean, just immediately you have to answer, because sometimes that also appears as if you have over prepared, and you don't want that to happen. Okay. I am Shillong. Any interview specifics to prepare? Transcripts, number one thing that you should do, right? So definitely go through transcripts of the I am Shillong interviews last couple of years. Do the institute research. And see, a lot of students don't take efforts, right? Because they want things to be very easy, but that's not how it works. I mean, if I were to prepare, right, if let's say I'm going to appear for IIM Shillong interview, I'll spend at least an hour on their website understanding everything about IIM Shillong. The second thing that I'll do is do a lot of research on Shillong itself, which is going to be the Wikipedia page of Shillong. The third thing that I will do is I'll go to LinkedIn page of IIM Shillong. The fourth thing that I will do is I will go through the placement report in detail. I will see what kind of recruiters come. I will look at, okay, what are the committees, clubs, all of that, whatever they have mentioned. And then I will reach out to, I will first of all research LinkedIn profiles of the students who have graduated from IIM Shillong in the last several years. And I will reach out to some of them and inform them that, hey, I have a call. These are the couple of questions that I have, and it will be really great if you can answer these questions. Okay, but make sure that firstly, you ask meaningful questions to such people. Secondly, don't expect them to reply. So don't think that you are somebody who is very important to them and you are entitled for a reply. It's not like that. If you write to maybe 20 people, maybe 1 or 2 people will reply to you. Okay, because see, a lot of people will be writing to them, and everybody's time is valuable, correct? So it's not necessary that they end up replying to you, but this is the process that I will follow so that I have a lot about the institute to talk about. I have good knowledge in Excel, SQL and Power BI, but I don't have any proof for it. Should I include that fact in PA? Will that help in any way? Okay, so Parthiv, it's not necessary that you have certifications in different skills or domains. You can always talk about it, okay? See, as long as it's something which has explicit points, for example, graduation, right? You can't fake graduation, or you can't just say that I graduated in something. So work experience, you need to have a proof for that. Those things have to be documented. But if let's say you're saying, I know PowerPoint, I know Excel, I know Power BI, SQL and all of that, you can definitely mention it in the interview, as long as you're not saying that I'm certified. So don't say anything that is not true. So I'll not say that I'm certified in Excel, but I'll just say that I take keen interest in Excel. I'm very skilled at Excel because I've been using it for the last 2 years at work. That is the way in which you can put it across. Okay, what could be examples of some weaknesses? Too many to to share, but see, what you should do is firstly ask your friends, ask your parents, ask your professors if they have spotted anything. See, all of us have some issues, and we generally be very good at finding our strengths, but we're very bad at finding our weaknesses, right? So when when I was a student, right, and I was preparing for this, I had a friend, and he used to say that my biggest weakness is that I don't know my weaknesses. Okay, so it's like that. I mean, it's very difficult to find. But let's say personally, for example, if I can share one, is that let's say you have a task, right, and you can do the task in 5 minutes, and you have somebody who is junior to you. That person reports to you, and now the person is going to take, say, an hour to do it. Now, you have this task to be done. There's a dilemma. The dilemma is that should you do it or should you delegate that to a person? Now, if you do it, firstly, it will be done in 5 minutes. But if you delegate, it is going to take time. So you have to, there's a trade-off. But if you don't tell the person how to do it, next time also the task will come to you. So you're also depriving that person of a learning opportunity. So this is a very personal area of improvement that I always used to have this thing, have had a lot of reportees in the past, that do I do the task myself or do I delegate? So that was a genuine improvement area, and I decided that it's always better to train somebody because otherwise they're never going to learn. So you need to really reflect on your past life. Currently, if you're working, then has anybody pointed that, okay, these are the things that you exhibit, these are the behaviors. If you're a student, then are there any particular sort of things that generally people come up to you and say, okay, this is something that you need to work on. So you reflect for a couple of days, and I'm sure you will find areas of improvement. I mean, see, if just because there are answers available in the world doesn't mean that that is your area of improvement. And same is true for strengths as well. So somebody can say, okay, I'm good at multitasking, but somebody might be terrible at multitasking. In fact, there's a lot of research which shows that humans can't multitask. I mean, it's in fact detrimental to you if you're multitasking. So anyway, I mean, the point is that you reflect on your own journey and you should be able to find something. How to approach group exercise in SCM HRD and SIBM Pune? So the problem with some of these symbiosis institutes is that they change processes a lot year on year, and then you are at the mercy of the initial guinea pigs who end up appearing for interviews or processes on day 1, 2, etc. And then we use those experiences to guide students because they keep changing things. So 1 year they will have some immersive test. Suddenly next year that test has been replaced by some other test. Barring places like these, the only thing that you need to keep in mind for group exercise is that you have to participate. The group exercise can be anything. For example, it could be, let's say as a group you have to come up with a tagline for a brand, and you're essentially selling it in a market which hasn't experienced that product as well. So then what do you do, right? Now what you need to do is just participate. You can be somebody who takes the lead, you can be somebody who comes up with more and more ideas, you can be somebody who sets parameters to evaluate those ideas, etc. But you should be seen, right? You should be there throughout. So the way it works for GDs, that you have to be visible throughout the GD. The same is true for group exercise as well, that you have to be visible. How to justify gap? I graduated in 23, then I did a 8-month traineeship at a company in 24, nothing post that. So how to justify the gap? This is from Sanskriti. So Sanskriti, first of all, you have to accept that there's a gap. Okay, now there's nothing which is like beating around the bush. Just accept that there is a gap. But firstly, you need to ask yourself why there was a gap, correct? So if you decide that, okay, I'm going to prepare for CAT, and because of there's a gap, just accept that you wanted to prepare for the CAT and you decided that it was the most important thing in your life at that point of time. So you decided to take a gap for it. In between this period, if you have done anything else, that should be mentioned. So maybe, for example, you participated in some activities, you picked up a hobby or an interest, you did some volunteering, or you did anything, right? Because see, nobody will sit idle at home. You'll do something. Maybe you took up fitness, for example, you're just going to the gym alongside your CAT preparation. So let's create a story around it, that okay, this is what you wanted to work on. And that's the only justification that you can offer, correct? Because there is a gap. And if there is no full-time work ex, there is no internship, it's always going to be difficult to justify that. But if you have some interest or hobbies that you pursued, let's say you started up something or anything that you did, you can mention it and just hope that, okay, fine, they will be okay with it. I got a 70 percentile in CAT, cannot repeat. Which colleges to target? Work ex is 2.5 years. Okay, so see, anyway, most of the institutes have average work ex somewhere in the 1 to 3 year zone. So you're not too late to the party, or you're not very early as well. You fit in the typical description of who is doing an MBA. Now with 70 percentile, again on the B school zone, if you go to the cutoff section, you will find options in the 70-75 percentile zone. Those are the places where you can go. But just be careful with the placement figures. So go through that, speak to a couple of students who have graduated from these places, and that's about it. Pranit, shall we answer a question we are not sure of, or else can we tell them clearly that we don't have a strong idea on it and try to skip the question? Great question, Pranit. So whenever you get a question and you don't know too much about it, what you do is you share whatever you know. Okay, so if you can always say that on this particular topic, or whatever is the question that they have asked, I have read XYZ article, or I have seen it in the news, and this is what I know. And that's the only information that you have. If you're taking a random guess, right, you should tell them upfront that I am not completely aware of the topic, but if I'm allowed a guess, or I'm taking a guess based on what I know, this is what it is. So you specify. If you're taking a guess, specify that. If you know for sure, but it is a limited information, just share at least that much, and you can accept that, okay, this is what I know. Why should we not select you question? Typically they don't ask that in the B school interview. Okay, so it's a question that is a very silly question. So why should we not select you? Nobody generally asks that. But if they ask you, you can just say that, sir, I think sir or ma'am, I'm pretty confident of the fact that, okay, I've done so much effort in terms of clearing my CAT and being here. and going through all the process. And I'm really looking forward to joining the institute. I'm very positive that I portrayed my candidature well, and I hope that you will select me and you've not found a reason to reject me at this point of time. But you never say that, okay, there are any reasons as to why they should reject you. I mean, they might not be even thinking about it, and now suddenly you've given them a reason to reject you. Question from Ishan: how can I justify gap year? I graduated in 23. I have cleared 2 levels of CFA since then, and I have 5 months of internship. Will I be able to compete with other peers in NMIMS? Why not? So the fact that you have completed CFA 2 levels, that itself is a justification for the gap. So you can say that I wanted to pursue my interest in finance passionately, and I decided to pursue CFA, and that is why alongside CAT preparation I was doing my CFA prep as well, and I have completed 2 levels of CFA. So there is a nice story that can be narrated to the panel. How to ace interview if I'm lacking in my BBA knowledge but good in extracurricular activities? So see, Nishad, you will have to prepare a little bit for the subjects. I mean, I'm not going to say that you completely ignore that side. See, because if they ask you some basic fundamental concepts from the subjects that you have studied and you're not able to answer those questions, having great extracurriculars is not going to help you survive. So the priority order that they have in mind, right, is very clear that firstly, they're looking for people who have great academic record. The second thing that is an add-on is if you don't have that, or alongside that, if you have done extracurricular activities. So it just shows that you're a well-rounded individual. But if you don't have great academic content, right, and even you're not able to answer basic questions, then it becomes a problem. Okay, so let's say somebody has done I'll choose BSc chemistry because that's what I have done in my graduation. Let's say you've done chemistry, right? And now you don't have a great score. Maybe your grad score is just about 60%, let's say. And they ask you a very fundamental question, let's say law of periodicity, and I'm not able to answer that question. It reflects very badly, to be honest. I may have great extracurriculars, but I don't have even the basic knowledge of the subject that I've studied. That's not the position you want to be in. So just revise the as I said, the strategy is going to be look at your mark sheet, pick every subject, put it in ChatGPT and say, okay, fine, I'm going to appear for an interview. This is a subject, let's say management accounting. And now ask me 25 questions or give me 25 questions that are very fundamental to management accounting. And then prepare at least for those questions so that if at all you get those questions, you know how to answer them. You have great extracurriculars, that is always an advantage. Nobody can take it away from you. But you can't say that I don't know basic questions from my area. Okay. This is from Tejas. If I receive a call for an operation management institute and has professional mechanical experience of 2+ years, till what extent interviews test the core engineering knowledge from the degree? In such cases, typically what is observed is that they ask you questions that are related to your work, and then what is the theory behind those things. So if you have done, let's say, job in a core, it's a core work that you have done, then whatever is related to that. So if it is, you have mentioned operation management and professional mechanical experience. So whatever are the concepts that you studied and you're using them, prepare for that really, really well. That's it. I completed my UG in 24, post that I didn't do any job or internship. This is from Dark Man. Do any job or internship, but I was developed some new habits and started doing online courses, but courses are yet to complete and are still in process. Okay, so you can talk about them. Maybe the courses were long duration, etc. You can talk about it, but the answer has to be framed properly. Okay, so it's a considerable gap considering you completed graduation in 24 and you don't have any job or internship. So it is going to be challenging, but you will have to specify why that gap happened. So you can always say that X, Y, Z, right? These are the 3 things that you are focusing on. Maybe that X is going to be preparing for the CAT. The Y is going to be the habits, and Z is going to be, I don't call it habits, you'll have to call it something like self-development, personality development kind of thing. And third is content improvement, which is basically gathering new knowledge and skills in the form of doing courses and certification. But you'll have to craft a proper story around it. If they ask, there are candidates who have done CFA with job, what makes us select you? This question I truly don't have an answer for. See, in this case, you focus on what do you bring to the table, correct? See, you will always find people who are smarter, better, stronger, more fit than you, but you exist, right? So it's not that, and everybody has a place, right? There are like 100 mobile phone brands that you have. Everybody has a space to exist in the market. So when they say that, okay, there are people who have done CFA and they have done job, etc., etc., you focus on, okay, what is it that you have? So maybe you have done, say, internship, right? Maybe you have done great extracurriculars or great academics, or you did some volunteering or whatever it may be, right? Those are the experiences that you bring to the table. So focus on that. You're not taking anything away from others who have done their great CFA or whatever, but you are focusing on yourself and saying, okay, this is what I bring to the table. This is my candidature, and this is how I will help, first of all, the batch, as well as take learnings from this, and this is what I want to do in the future, and that is why I want to be here. So you focus on those elements and don't worry about what others are doing. I mean, if you keep looking at that, you will find like hundreds of people who are better than you. uh, okay, how can I justify? Okay, I think I already answered that. What should be the sequence while answering the question? Introduce yourself. Oh, good question. So you always start with, first of all, what are you doing at this point of time? Okay. For example, I can say my name is XYZ. I'm currently working at whatever. Then you go back in time a little bit, and then you can say, I come from XYZ place. I did my schooling here. Then I did my graduation here, etc. in this domain. So be as specific as possible while you are speaking, so that they know what you do, right? For example, if you say I currently work at TCS versus I currently work at TCS as a something, as a tester or whatever. So be specific. That will always help. Rather than saying I have done my graduation, you say I have done my bachelor's in commerce in particular year, correct? That will help. And then you add a little bit about I'm somebody who takes keen interest in XYZ activities. It could be debating, for example. So I was head of debate club in my college, etc. Apart from or outside work, I indulge myself in XYZ, which are basically your hobbies, and that's about it. So your introduction should have a few achievements. Your introduction should give very clear indication of what you do right now and what you have done in the past and what interests you have. Okay. Okay. Is NMIMS really good since it's a big batch and fresher with no work ex? Can I get placed? As in Reddit, some people say NMIMS placement are majorly for work ex people and fresher hardly get 12 LPA. So in the past, I've seen even freshers getting good jobs. It's not like, see, because a lot of times students take one particular example and then they tend to generalize, and that's not how things work. So you need a minimum statistically significant sample size also to make any inferences about what is happening in the B school. What you should do, right, is right now just go for the process. See, there is enough time to take a call whether you should join the institute or not. And only after you've converted your options, then you can say, okay, fine, I've converted NMIMS, now I've converted something else. And let me now compare and come up with an answer that, okay, this will make more sense to me because of XYZ reason. But right now you just go. Can they ask about a gap if I graduated in 25? Not a lot, because 25 is still not a big gap. But be ready to answer that question. The only question they'll ask is, why didn't you take up a job? So you can add, let's say I was doing some courses or certifications. I was preparing for CAT alongside, and I was working on some improving some behaviors or habits or whatever it may be. So it's not a very big gap anyway. What do you think I am Udaipur versus I am Trichy? Okay. Answer is there on the B School Zone. So under B School Zone, you will be able to find that the information which will help you to answer that question. But yeah, I mean, right now it's too early to talk about it. We'll definitely do a session later once all the converts start coming in as to what you should join. But right now, not really. How should a person end an interview? Thank the panel. See, generally they will say that, so we are done, you can go. What do you do after that? You just thank them. Sometimes they'll offer you like a toffee or a chocolate, which is there. Sometimes it is there, sometimes it is not there. Don't think that just because they offered it to you means you're converted, or they didn't offer so you're not converted. It's not like that. But it may or may not be there. They will just say, fine, you can go. And then you thanks the panel, and just done. Okay, nothing much to be done. How to answer? Do you want to ask anything? So typically, if you don't have anything good to ask, just tell them that I don't have any questions. Okay, that's the safest option that you have, that you don't ask anything. But if you want to ask, you can always ask that professor, whoever, dear sir, ma'am, that of course you have seen thousands of students over the years. What would be your advice to me to make the most out of these 2 years of my MBA program? Right? That's a very simple, harmless question that you can ask anybody. That, do you have any advice for me? Sometimes they will give you advice. Sometimes they'll just say that they don't have any advice for you. And that's also okay. So safest option, don't ask questions. Second option that you have is, what would be your advice to me? Okay. I mean, you see, you're not there to interview them, right? So that's why don't ask them some really random question. I mean, a lot of students think that they should ask about, say, college festivals and activities, etc. Sometimes the faculty members are so disconnected with all of those things that they don't even know what the name of the festival is, right? So why put them in a spot? Shall we take the toffee if offered, or shall we make an excuse and reject it? I mean, take it. I mean, you can decide not to eat it later if you don't want to eat it. Just keep it in your pocket, right? Take it, give it to somebody else if you don't want to eat it. But please take it if they offer you a toffee. While writing SOP for symbiosis, should I write it in points or paragraph style if 4,000 characters are allowed for every question? Paragraph style. Okay, so paragraph style is always better. It should make a nice reading basically. Should I go for NMIMS interview in first week of Feb, or should I wait for some insights to come out, how they're conducting or what they're asking, and then schedule my interview? Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be like the first person to appear for the interview. Maybe second, third day, fourth day, that should be pretty safe. How to justify mathematics to MBA? I'm interested in finance. Oh, that's pretty easy. Basically, everything is just numbers, right? I don't know if you've seen this movie called Margin Call, wherein the guy who basically discovers problem, or does not discover but solves the problem, is essentially a rocket scientist, right? And they ask him, okay, so what are you doing here, right? You're a rocket scientist. And then he says a nice thing that it's just numbers. You're as a rocket scientist, you are doing something else, and in finance, you're doing something else. And I would definitely recommend you to watch that movie. But it's very easy to justify that. See, mathematical skills, whether it is quantitative aptitude that you have developed, or thinking about problems from a very structured perspective, that is something that you can apply. See, how do you write a proof, correct? You go step by step, you look at options, you consider different alternatives, you consider different methods, and ultimately you come up with a solution, like the most elegant solution to a problem. Fundamentally, everything in life when it comes to problem solving is that. So whether you're going to finance or to marketing, you should be able to talk about the skills that you have gathered in mathematics that you can apply to some other domain. How to answer? How are you a better candidate than others? So don't say that I'm better than others. What you can do is you can just say that, of course, you're not seen others, and there is no objective definition of better unless you're talking about some quantitative parameters. These are the things that I bring to the table, correct? So I don't know what, let's say, a CA has gone through, or what, let's say, a pharmacy grad has gone through, but this is what I have gone through. This is what has made me who I am today, and this is what I bring to the table, and I believe it will benefit the batch and the institute, and of course I will do very well in my career at a later point of time, and would like to give back to the institute in some form. So that's the journey that I wish to take. There is nothing really about me being better than others. Should I know class 11 journal entry rules as commerce student? I mean, yes, you should, considering you studied in 11th standard. So anything that is core fundamental, you have to know it. How to tackle a guesstimate question? Can you give an example? Typically in B school interviews, you don't get guesstimate questions, okay, because they tend to be too arbitrary. They are generally asked in the case interviews that happen on campuses for your summers and your final interviews. So that time you'll do more guesstimate. Guesstimates are when they want to see what is your structured thinking process. So if they say, okay, fine, how many golf balls can you fit, let's say, in an aeroplane, right? You will not have an exact answer. But then what you should know a little bit about is, and rather, even if you don't know, you make assumptions, right? That, okay, what would be, let's say, the volume of an aeroplane? And this is the thought process, that I'm thinking of volume of an aeroplane and then volume of a golf ball, and then divide one thing by the other to figure out, okay, how many balls you can actually put there. And then you start talking about, okay, calculating a little bit, right? So maybe you don't know the exact volume of an aeroplane, but now you have traveled in an aeroplane. So typically, okay, what is the dimension of a seat, right? And then you have three seats here, you have three seats on the other side, and then you have the space in between, right? So you start making assumptions, you start doing calculations that, okay, this is the shape. Typically, these many seats are there in an aircraft, and then, okay, fine, there is space for whatever the cabin crew and all of that. So you basically walk them through the methodology, and then you come up with whatever answer. That answer might be off, but at least you have given them the thinking process. How does VAT impact the interview? Anything we should keep in mind accordingly while writing? So while writing, always try and be politically correct. Don't take a stand unnecessarily. Don't voice your opinions. I mean, it's not a place where you just go and do some random commenting on social issues. So just be careful of that and you should be fine. Even say things like political statements or taking a stand or a view on something that has happened recently. Okay. I mean, you may think that whatever there's something wrong with a government agency, but VAT and interview is not the place to talk about it. Okay, I'll take the last few questions before we wrap up. We're almost an hour into this. Hopefully, we'll have another session next Friday to talk about the remaining questions. And if your question did not get answered, you can always leave it as a comment and try and get back soon. How should an economics grad fresher prepare for academics, and how many subjects should one cover? Okay, so again, in eco divide macro, micro. Then within that, what are the things that you need to study? As I said, pick up your mark sheet, go through all the subjects. In those subjects, put it in ChatGPT and say, okay, fine, give me 25-30 questions that could be asked on this particular subject. Prepare for that much. Outside that, you can still get more questions. And that is why you should do a lot of general reading, so that if a question is asked to you, you can at least connect it to something that you have read recently. I have 98.26. Should I go for IMI Delhi? You should go for the process and then decide once you have a convert. An MMS grad from Commerce 2019, informal family business without salary slips, applied as a fresher, NMAT 236. Is it wise for me to go into the VAT PI? You should go, because 60% is competency test, right? So that's huge. So 10% is NMAT, right? So I think you should go. 70% is more or less in your control, because competency test, if you do well, even though you don't have a great profile as such, you still have a shot at it. BSc Agri graduate, no work ex, how to answer why MBA? So as you are a BSc Agri graduate, firstly figure out what you want to do later, what you want to do from here on. So if you want to move towards rural management, agri-business management, anything that is allied to agriculture as such, you can talk about that and make a story around how MBA will help you to get there. How can I answer? What can fellow students learn from me? Okay, so firstly, you acknowledge that the fact that you want to do an MBA is because you also want to learn from others. So you want to benefit from the diversity that the batch has. And as part of that diversity, right, these are the experiences that I've had in the past, and these are the skills that I have, and that is what I would like to share with the batch. For example, maybe you have done, let's say, volunteering, right? And that volunteering has taught you to be patient, to be compassionate, and those are the things that you bring to the table. So these are the skills that your batch can pick from you, or somebody else can pick from you. And it's not necessarily batch also. I mean, if I say, okay, fine, I'm making a new friend, right? And that friend is somebody who is very fit. So maybe the discipline when it comes to eating or exercising is what I can learn from that person. So you always keep learning in life, right? From some or the other person that you meet. Why MBA in India? Okay, so see, firstly, you don't want to overhype India, or at the same time, you don't want to say that, I mean, see, everybody knows, right, that everybody will have different aspirations. So for some people, they want to go abroad, they want to settle abroad. So they go for an MBA abroad. Some people want to go abroad, they want to do their MBA in India, and then they want to go there. Some people want to do an MBA here and they want to be here. That's also fine. So ultimately, you don't know the exact future. What you know is for the next few years, what is the plan that you have. So you can say that for foreseeable future, right? This is what you think is going to happen. And there are so many opportunities in India right now, and you see that, okay, fine, there are these spaces where there are so many opportunities and you want to be a part of it. So somebody who is interested in finance can always talk about the fintech growth story that we have seen. The fact that we still don't have a lot of people under the financial investments perspective and all of that. There is so much to be done in India in finance space, right? So when you have so many opportunities, why go abroad, right? So you can always talk about that. It's not necessary that you make it like an over patriotic answer that, okay, I want to be in India. I got 99.2 in ZAT and I'm expecting BM but not HRM due to sectional, but I have GK 6. ACATS 899 general mail non-engineer. Would you think I would stand a chance? At a 99.2? Yeah, definitely. Why not? What can be ZAT sectional cutoff according to your wisdom and experience? Well, last year's data is there. It won't change too much from last year. So sectionals of last year, more or less pretty similar this year as well. Okay, all right. I think more or less we are done, and we have spent almost an hour discussing this. So thank you so much for joining. I hope it has helped you. I know it's not possible to answer everybody's doubts and do justice to all of that, but I have made an effort. If you have any questions, feedback, feel free to let me know. Once the video is done, you can leave your comment and I'll try and get back as soon as I can. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. Wish all of you all the best, and I'll hopefully see you soon, maybe next Friday itself, where we'll talk about the same thing or maybe add